time to complete my redemption arc with the Aura games. If you didn't watch my Coliseum video, which you should by the way, I never got to finish these games as a kid because I couldn't read. Now that I sorta can, I'm going back to see what I missed out on all those years ago. As always, I'm going to start with the recap, but I'll leave the review portion of the video timestamped below. Probably. We start with the SS Libra being abducted by a Shadow Lugia, stranding the only two crew members in the middle of the ocean, with no land in sight. Yeah, no, they're either going to drown or live out the rest of their days in the stomach of a whale lord. We move over to our protagonist, Michael, who has a starter Salamence. I'm going to rule over this region with an iron VR is getting too realistic nowadays. But mark my words, I will secure a Salamence of my own before this game is over. We talk to our mother who says our little sister, Jovi, is missing. You know how rebellious those 7-year-olds can be. A few years away from pokey adulthood thinking they could do whatever they want. We drag her back from Kamiko Manor before she could get Nina tuckered with a plusle. Cypher is rumored to have returned after 5 years, so Professor Crane gives us a snag machine. Who better to handle this high-tech machinery than a 10-year-old with an Eevee? But it's only a precaution. There's no way Cypher could come back with her leader imprisoned. Well, speak of the devil. To hell with Professor Crane, I've got a Shadow Teddy Ursa to catch. Alright, another member for my team. And on the first ball too. Did you see that, Professor? Mom, I lost the professor. Crane may be gone, but the work doesn't stop. We get sent to Gale on port for a quick fetch quest. Jovi, watch out, where'd you go? Well, Jovi's on her own. She got herself into that mess, she could find a way out. She lived a good life. It's a shame it couldn't have been longer, but we all gotta go someday. Before she gets seismic tossed into the Alola region, this kind old man's bodyguard steps up for her. Thank you, Mr. Barrick. What a great guy. We get the part from Mom and learn that her and the other professors are working on a purification chamber. But since that's not done, we go to a gate village, where we have the honor of battling Aegon, the former strongest trainer in the Aura region, with his level 12 Pikachu. Is it getting weaker with age? It was level 50 last game. Don't tell me he's got an Alzheimer's-ridden Pikachu that loses XP with every battle. This is gonna suck for you, little guy. I'd apologize if I thought you'd remember any of this come tomorrow morning. We gain access to the Relic Stone and head to Mount Battle, where Vandra informs us Cypher is holding the professor hostage at its old lab. We battle our way to the professor, but are stopped by Admin Lavrina. She tells us that they captured Crane so that he could help them develop a new ultimate shadow Pokemon, XD001. Knowing Cypher, it's probably going to be a Shuckle since it has the highest defense. We battle Lavrina to win the professor's freedom back and escort Crane back to the lab, just in time to see the purification chamber get finished. Over 5 years of research, and our father's life went into completing this machine that I will never use. Crane stole a heavily encrypted disk from Cypher, and the only people intelligent enough to crack it are Wes and Duking's former child workers. After the event at Coliseum, they unionized to start a news organization, the OMBS, and became insanely wealthy. They're a shining example of the positive effects of child labor. We entrust them with the disc while Duking teaches us about Pokespots. They should help attract wild Pokemon back to the region. And former Cypher admins because we find Mirror B. Why don't you moonwalk your way back to whatever diglet hole you've been hiding in for the past 5 years? We return to Pyrite Town where Cypher has taken over the OMBS HQ. Those vile heathens have gone too far this time. I'm gonna storm my way to the top and... Ooh, a Pokemon's at the Pokespot. I gotta go get myself a Sandshrew. Look at this little guy. I think I might just give him a cute little nickname. What was I doing? Oh crap, the hostages. We're too late. I mean, those nefarious criminals work quickly. Thankfully, Net was able to extract enough information to learn that Cypher is planning to attack Phoenix City. We rush to warn the mayor, but the city has already been taken over by Admin Snaddle. Damn, this place has a terrible history with criminals moonlighting as politicians. The OMBS finds information about the missing cruise ship that was transporting Pokemon across regions. Why did they need a cruise ship for that? Couldn't the trainers have just put them in their Pokeballs? For the love of Arceus, they're literally called pocket monsters. We get to the Libra, but Cypher's already stolen all the Pokemon. We try following them, but get surrounded by Team Snag'em. What do you guys think you're gonna do here? Half of what's left of your team is standing in front of me. When all 6 of you get together, you look like an execute. That's why you haven't accomplished anything since Wes left 5 years ago. How do you think you're gonna steal a Snag Machine when you still haven't figured out how to evolve that Gloom? Well played. Snag Machine or not, we go to the Cypher lair and battle Zook. Listen here, my poor, dumb, little Zookie bear. You should have known how this was gonna play out. Don't let me catch you around these parts when I have my Snag Machine back. Otherwise, I'll be taking that Zangoose. You hear me? I'm not even gonna bother using it, I'm just gonna release it. Now, get out of here. You're lucky you caught me in a good mood. Before we can enter the lair, we have to go to the Team Snag'em base and confront their leader. It's gonna be another scrawny old bald man who turned to a life of crime to overcompensate for having a sad life. He's built like a Machamp with 2 of its 4 arms merged to make even bigger arms. You know what, sir? I apologize. You can keep the snag machine. Actually, the lab needs me. Jovi's gone missing again, so I better. Oh, thank Arceus. It's a Pokemon battle. Gardevoir, Houndoom, kick his ass. Alrighty, back to ending Cypher. I told you I was gonna come back for you, Zuki Bear. Give me that shit. You see the things you make me do, Zook? I'm giving you 3 days to flee the region. I hear Hoenn is lovely this time of year, but wherever you go, you better pray I don't find you, or I'm gonna leave you like Ash at the end of Mewtwo Strikes Back. We stopped the Shadow Pokemon production facility by battling a Primeape with alopecia, better known as Admin Gorgon. After his defeat, the true head of Cypher is revealed to be Mr. Verret, aka Greevil, and he's perfected the ultimate Shadow Pokemon at Cidark Isle, one capable of ultra violence, the most evil Pokemon to have ever lived, out-eviling the devil himself, the ultimate weapon of mass destruction, Shadow Lugia. Think, Greevil. You gave out your exact location, then used a Shadow Pokemon against the guy that's been snagging every single one he comes across. All that time and research gone to a kid that hasn't even hit puberty yet. No, I'm not finished there. You're getting the Zook treatment. Give me your Mon and flee the region. That would be the end of things till Greevil's instigating son comes over and reminds him they're a crime organization. Why play by the law when you can take a page out of the Ganondorf playbook, blow up the kid, then start over? Thankfully, the non-homicidal son advises him not to do that and to turn himself in. Now that Cypher's disbanded for good, Michael can spend the rest of his days gambling at Realm Tower. I had a fun time with Gale of Darkness. It takes the foundation that Colosseum set and builds upon it. The balances made to Shadow Pokemon make them feel like a threat now, both gameplay and story-wise. They have more to their movesets beyond Shadow Rush, and having Shadow moves be super effective helps you see why they were a huge deal. Because in Colosseum, all you hear is Cypher's artificially closing the door to those poor Pokemon's hearts, but all it does is give them a glorified version to take down. Here, they can do serious damage to your team whether you're prepared or not. It feels like an unofficial type almost. Which is all well and good, but the issue I have lies elsewhere. The overall difficulty has been toned down from Colosseum. A little too much in my opinion. Like I said in that video, I had to start thinking about my next moves and play more tactically than I usually would towards the endgame. But here I spent the last 2/3 of the game with a Gardevoir and Houndoom. They were in the high 40s and early 50s while the rest of my party was between high teens and early 20s. I only swapped out when I caught some high level Shadow Pokemon before the final battle. And even then, if I wasn't trying to catch Greevil's Shadow Pokemon, I'm fairly confident that I could have swept with Gardevoir and Houndoom too. I know a complaint lots of people have is that the overall tone of the game is a lot more upbeat. You're no longer a cool, older protagonist setting out to correct the mistakes of your past. Now it's more in line with the mainline games, with a professor going, "Okay kid, you're 10, which means you're an adult. Take this expensive piece of high-tech machinery and go fight criminals." Colosseum deviating from the established formula is what brought me back all those years later, and why many people still talk about it. But Gale of Darkness touches on topics Game Freak has yet to do almost 10 gens in. There's severe Pokemon cruelty, a conspiracy to replace the city's inhabitants, with a villain who legit contemplates killing a kid and all his subordinates just so he doesn't have to face justice for his crimes. One of my personal favorite scenes is Michael getting jumped for the snag machine. Because in other games like Black and White 2, when Team Plasma has you surrounded on the airship, they go, first you're going to battle him, then her, then her, then him, then me, then him. I'd always think, why not just jump him, take his Pokemon, and go? Hell, take his wallet while you're at it. So seeing that kind of come to fruition here is hilarious to me. But it also furthers my point, that scene would never happen in a Game Freak game. Yeah, it's not as intense as almost getting blown up in a Cypher lab, or a teenage girl almost getting kidnapped, or half the shit that goes on in the manga. But it doesn't need to be. It allows Gale of Darkness to have its own identity. And in that regard, it's exactly like Colosseum. There are some aspects and features introduced in the OR games that I think should make their way into the mainline games. The bird's eye panning shots every time you enter a new city. It's a minor thing, but I think it helps set the atmosphere for the area. In the mainline games, when I want to level up Pokemon, I just take one over-leveled Pokemon and sweep the Elite Four and Champion. It gets tiring fighting the same teams over and over, and a mount battle-like area could remedy that. It could work for grinding, or as a side feature to play through when you've got nothing else to do. And battle CDs are fun puzzles that you're meant to complete with a specific strategy, but I think they could take it up a notch, by allowing you to create your own and upload it for others to figure out. Think Mario Maker, but with Pokemon. I hope eventually Colosseum and Gale of Darkness get ported to a future Nintendo console, just to give the OR games more exposure so hopefully there could be a third game in the region. After Legends EA comes out, I hope the next Legends game is set in the OR region, because there's so much potential. They could bring back Shadow Pokemon, make new Shadow Legendaries. Not like the legendary dogs and beasts, but more along the lines of a Shadow Lugia, just dark, angry legendaries. Plus, there's plenty of lore between the two games that can be expanded upon. Where did Wes and Rui go? Why was Rui the only person able to see shadow Pokemon? Why is Celebi related to the Purification Stone? Why did all the wild Pokemon flee the region? A Legends game could easily answer all those questions. For now, it seems like any possibility of revisiting the Ore region is dead. But Genius Sonority definitely deserves to make another Pokemon game. Well, that's all I got for this one. I'm gonna go experiment with dusty, possibly expired third-rate energy drinks that may land me in the hospital. So subscribe, or don't. Either way, I'm gonna head out later.